government money. But when the milk runs out, these terrorists will stamp their feet and turn back to their guns. We must proceed with due diligence at all times. That's just a little dig at the IRA. Next, the vulnerable of our society. Collective responsibility means we want to protect the elderly and the mentally ill and any of the people who are vulnerable. This means we want them to feel equal partners. We need to put on more events for them in our town centres. We want to see more elderly getting out and enjoying their town centres. We want to see more mentally ill taken out on trips into the town centres, not shut away as if they are outcasts who nobody wants. We want this for the vulnerable groups. A word to corporate business and the judiciary. Big business needs to realise they are agents of democracy. They should take more of the financial deficit in our country. They cannot expect to have profits and then push all the financial problems onto the public. The public can't take the strain, cracks will appear. You need to stop trying to dominate public space, but empower it for the democratic, economic and social good of all. The judiciary also needs to take responsibility. It should stay vigilant and make sure it preserves the right balance between democratic freedoms and the rights of companies. It also should discourage the me litigation suits and promote more us approach to the law. It should simplify its procedures, give stiff penalties to criminals who are clearly intended to go on a life of crime. When a person has burgled a house, it should be seen as an emotional rape, and the burglar should get a prison sentence. Such an attitude would sweep away juvenile crime and make the public feel safe once again in our town centres. Also, if I take Middleton Town Council or the UK government to court, I want to know I can trust the legal system and not feel those who have more power than me can wiggle out of the situation by legal loopholes. Public service, be proud in what you do. The police, nurses, teachers, fire brigade and the army, an army of public servants feel undervalued and under siege. There is a culture of silence. Public servants are being pushed by managers to hit targets and follow government guidelines to the point public servants are bullied where they can't give the quality of service to the public they so much want to give. What this means is a lack of self-esteem creeps into local councils, which make them feel they can't do the job, so they hand over leadership to company partnerships. There has to be a culture change where the public speak out and insist on giving the quality of service needed to do the job. They must do so knowing the public is behind them. The good of all come first before targets. Finally, public servants should see that they are there for the community, not the community there for them. Too often our own people feel the town councils are dictatorial, who exercise power for themselves and not serving the people. This kind of attitude makes millions of UK citizens and American citizens feel they are visiting old-style communist officials rather than people who care about them. Blasphemy and the arts. Religion and the arts needs to take a more collective responsibility for the good of democracy. This will have a direct impact on how public space is used. The arts need to encourage more Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu playwrights and novelists, etc. The arts are far too often follow a multicultural agenda mixed in with the spices of secularism. This means religious groups who have religious texts who interpret them in a literal way are sidelined in free artistic expression. For example, there is no national Christian playwright who represents at least 500,000 evangelical Christians in the UK. Failure to bring in Christians and other faith groups into the arts more will lead to those groups being alienated and stifle the creative interchange of opposing ideas. Having drama groups where Jews, Muslims, Christian playwrights meet together with secular playwrights will foster understanding and national unity. Just in parenthesis, those who think that I don't understand secularism, because those who are hearing me talk about secularism will think, well, secularism is about allowing religious people to have freedom. But as Jürgen Habermas has noted, secularism has been dogmatic in trying to control religious fundamentalism, i.e. Christian fundamentalism in the West. And it's simply not true to say that secularism has no agenda. Secularism has an agenda, and has an agenda to silence any voice that challenges it. And the Christian worldview in the West has definitely been silenced by the secular bigots of today. That's a parenthesis. So, having drama groups where Jews, Muslims, and Christian playwrights meet with secular playwrights will foster understanding and national unity. The arts need to think twice when it tackles religious topics, making sure it is sensitive to the religion it challenges. Creative freedom comes with responsibility to others. If the arts tackle a subject that sends a religious community in convulsions, it will send a strong message to the religious community they do not belong in the democratic process. On the other side, religious communities need to be careful how they react if their views of what a playwright or writer has said is blasphemous. They should try to assess if the artist is sincere in their challenge and be duly sensitive to their beliefs. If they feel their cherished belief is being desecrated, then they should not react violently. They should recourse to the law. Then if they do not get satisfaction, they should engage in passive civil disobedience. They should go on a march, go on a hunger strike, or sit outside Parliament and refuse to move unless the piece of art is removed from the public domain. This will promote peace and understanding in our town centres. Next, the dying art of debate. The art of true debate is dying in our culture, which has a direct impact on public space and democracy. John Stuart Mill talks about listening to your opponent and getting all the threatening, sorry, I think sorry, I'll just we will get there. Sorry about this. Get there. Just forgive me for a second. I've just lost a page. I think I've said most of what I wanted to say. Okay, yeah, the dying art of debate. The art of true debate is dying in our culture, which has a direct impact on public space. John Stuart Mill talks about listening to your opponent, and that's where we're going to leave it. My research paper, I've lost the last few pages in the printing out of my lecture, and I'm now going to do another lecture on Luther the Reformer. But the issue of debate, it's important because I think that too much rhetoric is involved at the moment, both in the media and on multimedia platforms. There needs to be more vigorous academic discussion and debate where multiplicity of views are allowed to be listened to in the public space. And very often what you get is certain voices in the media are sidelined, are not given an opportunity. Discussions are not free and flowing, they're often controlled, and there needs to be a much more respectful engagement with each other people's opinions and ideas, especially on the internet as well. So that's my lecture. It's called Democracy, Public Space and Preaching. You might not agree with everything that I've said, and I understand that. Some of the ideas that I've come out with might seem radical. Some of the ideas you might react from the political left or the political right. You might react to it from a Christian or non-Christian point of view. But if this lecture at least makes you think about the nature of public space, basically the issue that my lecture is tackling is the fact that public space in town centres and city centres and villages are being given over to companies, and people are not realizing that this is having a diametrical effect on how we understand democracy, and it's a strategic problem that needs to be addressed. The commercialization of public space, where that space was used for debate, discussion, preaching, the arts, once you commercialize that, then you've taken away the heart of democracy. And that's what I was trying to get at. I was trying to give a new vision of public space. There are town centres, there are city centres. Manchester City Centre is an example that are doing an excellent job and have avoided the commercialisation of public space, and have allowed much more of a creative interplay in public space, and they've done an excellent job in my own city. But there are many cities and towns around the world today, not just in America or Europe, but around the world, that the politicians have sold out. They've actually sold the rights of the town centres and city centres to big business, and along with that you lose the democratic right to free speech and all the rest of it. And my lecture, Democracy, Public Space and Preaching, is really to challenge people to think about the whole issue of democracy and public space, and to think about it, and if it promotes discussion and debate, if it encourages people to write PhDs on it, if it encourages journalists to do things, artists, preachers, politicians, if just a few people respond to my lecture, then I would have been really pleased. So thank you for listening, and God bless you all. Please leave your comments, and take care.